Catus Maximus here again with one of the last wrench reviews. This time it is the Pittsburg 24-inch adjustable end wrench, or crescent wrench. I'm doing a review of this wrench by itself because this is pretty ubiquitous. This is the largest adjustable end wrench sold at Harbor Freight, as well as many tool stores don't have the 2-foot long adjustable end wrenches. And it's also surprisingly well priced. I mean, like 30 bucks or something like that. I'm sure it's not the highest grade steel, but when I took a close look at this, you know, these you would say is a hidden gem. No, it's not a professional grade wrench, but it doesn't cost, I mean, a 24-inch proto or something, it was going to set you back like $200. So for the price, this is one of those for the price. I mean, it's pretty surprising. And this was the first one I actually grabbed off the shelf. All of them actually look disproportionately well made, and I don't know why that was the case with the large wrenches, because a lot of the smaller ones weren't very good. But I'm trying to show you, if I can, that the beam is really straight. I mean, that's a 2-foot long beam, and Harbor Freight isn't known for their straightest tools, but this thing is surprising. Same with this direction. The grinding is really nice and even all the way around the wrench. The finish is pretty good. And if we look all the way up at the top here, I mean, it doesn't have all that uneven ugliness. I mean, it is just surprising. That's all you can say. I mean, really nice jaws in there. Nice wheel. So I would definitely recommend this wrench. And the reason I'd recommend going with, when it comes to adjustable end wrenches, you're better off getting the largest one either that you can afford or that you'll think you'll ever use. Because oftentimes you have one that's not quite large enough, so you can't quite get the jaws tight enough, and you can't get quite enough leverage on it. So I'd recommend it. And the other nice thing is that you have a wide range. I believe this one goes all the way up to 2¼ inches. Just a second. It goes up to 2½ inches, so that would take care of just about every one of your fastener needs. Oftentimes, these are used if you're doing landscaping work, irrigation, sprinkler systems. There are a lot of those in-ground chambers that have the big plastic, as well as plumbing, where you have those big plastic caps and they have just the large squares on them. But since the squares are on a big diameter, you need a lot of force. And so these wrenches, actually, I've seen quite a few of them being used by plumbers and that kind of stuff. To give you an idea of the overall length, relative to a 2½ inch box wrench, now relative to a box wrench that would go up to this size, it is a little bit short if you were going to work on the maximum 2½ inch fasteners. For instance, this is a cheap Tecton 2½ inch box wrench, and I will do a review of these. When you get up the wrenches this size, it's hard not to go with cheap brands because, oh my God, you have to be making a lot of money to afford them. So if we put the jaws together here and then go down, we can see that it's maybe 4 or 5 inches shorter than even what a normal length box wrench would be. But that being said, this is really a great wrench right here. And for the price, I would go for it, because if you end up breaking it or beating it up, it's not going to break your heart or your wallet. And if you use it so much that you do end up breaking it, then you'd say, okay, I need to buy a professional grade one because I'm really getting more use out of it. One last thing of note, and we'll do a couple little comparisons here of what is missing versus a much nicer crescent wrench. Sorry about the awkward angles. Even though it looks like a smaller wrench, you can tell by my hand, but this is not a small wrench. Here is our actual crescent wrench. And so some of the differences here. One is with the wheel. This wheel is just loose, and so that can be annoying because as you use the wrench and the jaw rattles back and forth, the wheel tends to want to adjust itself, and either the wrench will get to a point where you can't put it on the bolt, or it just starts getting looser and looser. On the actual crescent wrench, it's real hard to see, but they have a spring inside there to provide tension on the wheel so that it doesn't want to move around and self-adjust. The other issue, and let me get a little zoom here, is they did just use cheap threads. And on crescent wrenches, they use what's known as buttress threads. For one, so they have extra strength, but two, so they have a flat wall on the face that the force is going in, so that it doesn't want to dent out the back of the wheel, because there's a lot of surface area. But on the back side, they leave it buttress, so you have a lot of strength. The Harbor Freight essentially does an Acme thread. They look pretty straight, but not perfectly straight, and they're just straight on both sides. So it means that these are disproportionately thin. And technically, it would be more possible for these to actually break and strip out or get bent if you're putting extreme force on it. Relative to the crescent wrench, if we get a nice close look here, it's very obvious the buttress threads. What we have is an absolutely straight wall, and then the angle, the steep angle in the back. And if you look at the teeth, you can see the teeth have like a ratchet shape to them to really match those threads. And so that helps make this wheel setup relatively stronger, even if it was the same material than, say, a Harbor Freight. So those would become a couple of the things that do make the Harbor Freight a little cheaper, and, you know, and some of the small aspects that set apart a higher quality tool from a cheaper tool. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and Catus Maximus out. See you again soon.